Hello, everybody. I hope everybody out there can hear me. This is my first time doing this, so we'll see how this works out. I just wanted to, communicate with you guys, and I'm very happy that you support me. And I just want to spend this time for us to kind of maybe chat. As I learn to do this, we'll get even more things done. What I wanted to talk about is the fact that one of the things that we really don't know that much about is, the changing aspect of foundational Black American history. I had wanted to show a video. I wanted to show a video, but I don't know how to do that yet. But down the road, I'm going to try to learn how. But I want to really talk about the fact that, many of us have been misled about the history of foundational Black Americans, and even foundational Black Britons. And what we've been misled about is that we've been taught that our only heritage is Africa, and this isn't correct. This isn't correct. Our heritage is also from Ireland and Scotland, and also the Black Native Americans. And so, if you're really going to understand what's going on with us as a people, you have to also understand that we are tripartite. We have a tripartite origin. And what I mean by a tripartite origin is the fact is that we have two influences, major influences, which was the Black Native American and African, but we also have a third or tripartite, and that's the Black Europeans. And so the most important thing that we need to do is that we need to, in a sense, try to get people to understand that it's more to our history than what we've been taught. You see, because see, we've only thought in a sense in terms of the African heritage, and it is true because our ancestry is African, and because our ancestry is African, that means that yes, we should be able, in a sense, to know these things. But even though our ancestry is African, we also have a great history in terms of these other heritages. I know that when I was growing up back in the day, and when my grandmother told me that we had Choctaw heritage, I didn't want to know about that because back in the day cowboy movies were popular, and in the cowboy movies the Indians always lost. So of course I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't really want to be talking about that because see, in terms of talking about that and trying to bring up this whole idea about the Choctaw, I mean, hell, I said African history is much better, mainly because of the fact the ancient empires. But the beauty of it is just that we have such a beautiful history. We have just a beautiful history. And because we have a beautiful history, we have to, in a sense, acknowledge it. And we have to, in a sense, learn how to not only, in a sense, express it, but also try to find out more about these histories. Since we're here, are there any questions that you guys would like to ask me about any subject? Hopefully, I can answer it. Just put the question in the chat. I'm glad to see Tariq Lopez, Joan Coromonte, Miss Priest, Sirius B. Welcome everybody. Whitney S. And Rita, glad to see you. I'm glad, Rita, you and Joanne can make Joan, that you guys could make it because of the fact we just left class. But is there any questions that you've had related to some aspect of ancient history or some of modern event that's going on now? Just put it in the chat and we can talk about it. Okay, YouTube Academia. One of the resources that you might find is that most of these resources you can find in the average Afro American history text. Many of these things, if you're going to go to Google, what you would put in is the Southern migration, because the Southern migration from the South was an event that was very important. One of the things that made this an important event was because of the fact that many Black people were tired of sharecropping. Because they were tired of sharecropping, what they did in a sense is that they began to read in the newspapers like Chicago Defender and other Black newspapers from Philadelphia. They heard about all these jobs up north, and so then what happened is that many of these Black people, beginning around World War I, began to migrate from the South to the North. One of the reasons that made this opportune is that we had the Pullman porters. And see, the Pullman porters, they worked on the trains. And if you remember, back in the early days of the United States, the trains were the major means of transportation. Because it was the major means of transportation, then it made it possible, in a sense, for these porters who mainly came out of Chicago to be able to take the latest newspapers from all the big cities and take them down south. And see, what this did is that it allowed, in a sense, more communication. And see, this is a very important thing. Sadly, today we don't have any black newspapers. And because we don't have any black newspapers that's really owned by black people, then therefore, in a sense, the information is very there. It's not that much information. But again, they would go around and they would tell people about the events that were going on up in Chicago, up in New York. And because they learned about these events, what they would do is that they would begin, in a sense, to maybe send a relative up north, like my mom, my not my mom, but my grandmother. She was the first one to come up here from Mississippi, because see, prior to my mom and dad coming up in the late in the late 30s, early 40s, the majority of people in Chicago had come from Alabama, Arkansas, and places like that. But beginning around the late 1930s, many black people began to migrate from the South, especially Mississippi, into Chicago. But the most important period of migration was the period of migration right around World War One. What it was is that during World War One, as many people were shipped off and had to go fight in the war, that made many jobs available in the various factories and other places up in the north. And so many black people could come up from the South and they could get these jobs. In a way, we were almost like the immigrants are today. They could pay us for a cheaper wage. And because of the fact that they could pay us a cheaper wage, then this encouraged us to maybe come up here. And by us coming up here to the north, what happened in a sense is that people could get these jobs. They had great opportunity. Yeah, we were restricted to certain parts of maybe Chicago, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, uh, St. Louis. But the point is that they still found those job opportunities. So if you want to find references to the history of black people migrating out of the South, do a good Google search. And in your Google search, put in there, the question is, give me some text. And what they'll do, they'll give you text on the black migration from the South to the North, and they'll bring up books, articles, and things like that. I hope that helped you, YouTube academic. Okay, all eyes on the media. You asked, do you consider FBA to be the Paleo Americans? Yes, I do, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, you had to remember is that the majority of black people, in a sense, what they did is that they came from Africa, and according to most researchers, the earliest people in Africa, the earliest people in the Americas were, in a sense, the the had landed in Brazil. But we find that the earliest evidence of black people goes back to 130,000 years ago in California. And the reason they believe that black people were in California 130,000 years ago is because of the fact that they found mammoth bones. And these mammoth bones appear to reflect the fact, in the sense that scrapers were used, that they had used scrapers. Scrapers is a certain way they used to sharpen a rock, and they would, in a sense, scrape the meat off the bones. And this was in a way, in a sense, because of the fact that they see that the meat is removed off the bones. This implies that there were people here 130,000 years ago. Now, you asked the question, and what you asked you asked about the Paleo Americans. Well, the Paleo Americans is the name for the first Americans, because there was about 3 migrations to America. The first migration from Africa to America was what we call the Australian people. The Australian people made the first migration from Africa to the Americas. The reason that people had to come from Africa instead of Asia is because of the fact that, if you remember the Ice Age, when you think about the Ice Age, that means that most of Canada, the Bering Straits, just about all of Asia and all of most of North America was under ice. Because most of them were under ice, then therefore what happened, in a sense, is that you couldn't, in a sense, raft. What they feel is that in ancient times, they feel in the sense that in ancient times, people, when they sailed great distances, what they did is that they would coast around the coast. And so if anybody had tried to come to the Americas from Asia, then they would have found all that ice. They would have froze to death. As a result, we know that early man did not come to the United States until in a sense, after the ice contracted. Okay, a lot of people have talked about the fact that in terms of North America, nobody could have been in North America between 125,000 years ago and 12,000 years ago. But there were people in some parts of the United States that wasn't under the ice that goes back to 50,000 years ago. And these people came from Africa because, see, people forget that the shortest distance between the western continent is this whole idea, in a sense, is the movement from Africa to the Americas. It's only 1,000 miles. Yes, 1,000 miles. It's 1,000 miles from the West African coast. Okay, and so then the Paleo Americans were black people. Usually, in the sense that we talk about the Paleo Americans, we talk about the people in a sense. You know, we talk about in the sense the people, and these people in a sense were primarily, these people in the sense that lived here were primarily in a sense people that came here after 12,000. Okay, they came in here in two periods. The first people in a sense that came here, they brought what's called the Solutrean culture here. These Solutreans were Paleo Americans, and their civilization goes back about about 25 to 44,000 years ago. But many of the earliest Paleo American found in the United States is called Uzic man. And see, Uzic man, he was found in the American West, and he dates back to 12,000 years ago. The interesting fact is that Enzic man, he carried the haplogroup R. And see, the haplogroup R, although Europeans try to make you believe in a sense that these black people, that the people in a sense, Enzic man, they want you to believe in a sense that these people were in a sense, didn't carry the R haplogroup. They did. And see, the R haplogroup, they always want to assign that to Europeans, but that's wrong. The most ancient haplogroup is B88. And this B88 was found in people as old as 17,000 years ago in Italy. But the R haplogroup is what the Paleo Americans carried. Because the Paleo Americans carry haplogroup R, and many contemporary foundational black Americans, they also carry the R haplogroup. Since these people carry the R haplogroup, it's a possibility that many people carrying the R haplogroup, you see, may be descendants of the original inhabitants of the Americas, the Paleo Americans, who were here 12,000 years ago. So yes, there is a relationship. Okay. Next, there was a question about, is there a relationship between the Olmecs, the Huns, and the Mongols? No. The Olmecs, they existed much more older. They came here in about 1,200 to 1,300 BC. The Huns and the Mongols, they don't come on the scene until much later. I haven't seen a relationship between the Olmec and Hung language. So no, I haven't seen that relationship. Okay, then Mott over mine. You asked, was Pharaoh Djoser in the Shia dynasty? Are they Olmecs? No, they're different groups. The Shia people, the Olmecs in a sense, were Mandingo speakers. The Mandingo speakers in a sense, what they did is that they came over from West Africa, Central Africa, really in a sense, Middle Africa, about 1,200 to 1,300 years ago. So therefore, in a sense, the Djoser, he came much earlier. He was a pharaoh in Egypt much earlier than that period, And so then therefore, no. The Egyptians, no, they didn't create the Silk Road. The Egyptians, they basically, in a sense, stayed mainly in Egypt. Rang means red in Nagas. No, Rang means man in Chinese. Reds and Nagas are different. And Nagas have nothing to do with the Chinese. The Nagas have nothing to do with the Chinese. The Nagas, in a sense, were mainly Ethiopians. And these Ethiopians, Naga comes from Nagush. And Nagush was the name of the kings of Ethiopia, really Abyssinia. And because of the fact, in the sense that they ruled much of Southeast Asia, that's where we get this term about Naga, which goes back to Nagush, the Nagus. So they were mainly Ethiopians. They mainly worshiped the serpent. How do I feel about pre-civilizations like Atlantis? I think Atlantis existed. Like right now, in a sense, the right now I'm trying to research the Sioux civilization. The Sioux civilization, I just heard of that when I started reading ancient Indian books, and they were, the leading capital was in the Nile Valley. So there's so much history that you have to really deal with. Atlantis, I think it existed. It may have been an island near the Americas, but also I talk about in my book Neo Atlantis, the Atlantis in Mexico. In my book Atlantis in Mexico, what I talk about then is that I talk about the fact in the sense that these were Neo Atlanteans. Okay, and then this whole idea about the Hongs, and this whole idea about the Olmecs and the Egyptians. No, there's no relationship. The Olmecs were Mandingo speakers. See, the Olmecs and the Shia, they both were, in a sense, Mandingo people. The rulers of Shia was Hondi, which is when you colloquialize it, it becomes, in a sense, Kunte. Like if you've ever heard about roots, it's Kunta Kinsi, Kunta Kinti. And see, the Kunta clan, they ruled Elam, they ruled ancient China, and many Manding, in a sense, worked in the Americas, but they didn't. They all called themselves Shi because, see, Shi, Xi, which is pronounced SH or Shi, what that means, in a sense, is black. It means nationality of people in the Mandi language. There's no connection between Swahili and Sanskrit. The Sanskrit language is basically based on Ethiopian writing, Abyssinian writing. There's no relation between Swahili and Sanskrit. Swahili, if you remember, is a language that's a combination of Bantu and also, in a sense, Arabic or Semitic language. Ramsey or Tutsi? Nah, I don't know about that. You know, because the Egyptians, you have to understand that there was what was it? I think it was about 46 Sepats. There was a number of Sepats. A Sepat or Nome was the major cities in Egypt. Each Sepat had its own god, and it had its own group. Because, see, we think of Egypt as a monolithic civilization. Egypt was not a monolithic civilization. Egypt was a civilization in which each city had a different group of people. That's why we find, in a sense, a relationship between the ancient Egyptian language and also, in a sense, the languages spoken in West Africa and also East Africa. The Khoisan, well, the Khoisan, a lot of people rule the world first. The Khoisans, they ruled the world from what, 44? They ruled the world from about 44,000 BC down to about 20,000 BC. Then the Anu or Pygmy people, they created a great civilization. In fact, if you're going to look for the founders of Atlantis, it would have probably been the Anu people. Yes, today they're Pygmies. Yes, today they look primitive. But even though they look primitive, they weren't always primitive. These people used to rule the world. That's why we find evidence of the Anu people or the Pygmy people throughout the world. You found them in the mountains of Asia. You found them in the Amazon. You find them out on the Pacific Islands, and you find them in Africa. Because of the fact that they once ruled the world, but then after the Great Flood came after 4000 BC, many of their civilizations went into decline. After their civilizations went into decline, they still kind of ruled the world till about 3000, between 3000 and 2500 BC, and that's when the taller blacks, us, the Proto-Saharans, us, and we went out. Huang Di, it doesn't mean Great Han. Huang Di does not mean Great Han. You got it all wrong. The Hans are a different group. When you talk about the Hans, you're talking about the Ururs. And the Uyghurs were the people in the sense that found these were black people that founded, the country we called today Hungary. You see, that's where those were some of the Han. But Han Di has nothing to do with the Hans. Juan Di was he was a Mandi speaking person. He belonged probably to the Sioux civilization. The Hindi, that's an Indo-European language. The Han Dynasty, that was one of the latter Mongoloid Indian dynasties. Gon, yeah, Gun was the father of Yue. Yue was also in a sense called Kushan. They were Kushan or Kushites. That was what Twilight evolved. Does the existence of Gondwanaland account for the migration of the original humans? No. A lot of people get it mixed up. Remember, Gondwanaland existed, what, 100, 200 million years ago? No, people existed 100 million to 200 million years ago. No, Gondwanaland does not relate to the migrations of the original humans. The original humans, they usually migrated to the sea. That's an interesting question. Was the Mandi language the basis of most languages today? I wouldn't go that far. I'll just say this is that the first lingua franca is a language that people use to communicate when they speak different languages in their home states. So my research shows that the Mandi language was an early lingua franca, maybe going back as far as 10,000 years ago, but I don't know what the original language of mankind was, And then Egyptian, that's an Egyptian is a lingua franca too, because the people who lived in the various sepats or nomads of Egypt, a lot of them spoke different languages. Ashanti were there, the Mandi were there, the Ethiopians. See, just like see, you've been taught a lot. We've been taught in the sense that the Semitic people mainly lived in Asia. No, the Semitic people originated in the Nile Valley, and then it was from the Nile Valley that the Semitic people migrated into Mesopotamia. See, the Semitic people have been in Mesopotamia in the Nile Valley for thousands and thousands of years. But that's just another lie the white man made up so you wouldn't be able to catch up. The Pharaoh Amenhotep, the first king of the 12th dynasty, was from Nubia, Sudanese. And how come they say the 25th dynasty? Well, they say the 25th dynasty was the first black pharaohs, because remember they in many universities white people teach that the Egyptians were black-skinned whites, and so then because of the fact, in the sense that we can see a clear progression of the 25th dynasty. That's why they say that was a black dynasty. The first Kushite dynasty to rule Egypt, though, was the Hyksos, because the Hyksos, in a sense, they came from Lower Egypt. They didn't really come from Mesopotamia. That's all bullshit, And so then they just, they can teach you whatever you want. That's one of the reasons why, if you really want to learn a lot of history, you have to do the research yourself. And see, if you do the research yourself, Timbo, what you'll find in a sense is that you can find out more and greater information. But see, the information is out there, but you have to be able to sift through the information yourself. See, because Europeans, just like now, many of the figures in the pyramids and other places, they're lightening up their skins. If nothing happens soon, before you know it, they'll make most of the Egyptians. People will think that the Egyptians were white or very light skinned. You see, even though there were many light skinned Egyptians, they weren't pale. But see, the thing is this: the good thing about this is that their paint is no good, so it'll usually wear off in about 200 or 300 years. The Great Tamana Civilization. Well, the Tamana Civilization, that was a civilization that was found by a friend of mine. His name was Bator Toks. Bator Toks, he was a Hungarian, and when I first met him, I said, "Who the hell is this white man talking about he's black?" And so, But so what he showed me is that most of the Hungarian people, they call themselves in a sense Uyghurs, and the Uyghur means was a name for the black people. And see, most of the Hungarian people, many of them trace their ancestry back to Nubia, and the Tamana civilization is the name of all the various sites around the world that have the Tamana place name. And what Bator did, among the Hungarians, Bator told, okay, I didn't know at first, to see Bator in Hungary, they put their last name, like in Asia, they put their last name first. So his first name was Tolt, but I was always calling him Bator because I thought that was his first name, but really his first name was Tolt. Bator was his last name. And so then, so what he did is that he showed me all these thousands of sites. I really think Tamana relates to the Anu civilization. I'm going to do a talk on that on one Thursday, sometime in February. So I'll elaborate on that, and then if you have further questions, come to me. I got look on this. If you look on this site, my YouTube site, you're going to find it on my YouTube site. I already have a couple of videos on Tamana. Yeah, Gavin, Garvin, you said it's a mountain. Yes, a lot of places called Tamana. He found about 10,000 place names around the world, Asia, Africa. Bator, he was a great scholar. I really, he was a very great scholar. He was much, much, much older than me. He died back in I think he died in the late 80s or early 90s. But he was a very great scholar. Dr. Wentz, regarding languages, the Bible spread of God mixing up the languages due to Nimrod building the Tower of Babel. Any evidence that the Tower of Babel was real? I don't know. In this my last lecture I did last week, when I talked about Nimrod and I talked about George Smith. According to George Smith, there is some evidence of a possible Tower of Babel, but he didn't really mention any other tablets. And plus, they've got thousands of tablets, and I can read Proto-Sumerian. I don't read cuneiform, but I can read Proto-Sumerian. I haven't talked about, but what I did is that years and years ago, I compared the Malinki Bambara language. That's the language spoken by the Mandi people in West Africa. I compared Malinki Bambara to Sumerian and Tamil, which is spoken in India, and I found that they're what we call in linguistics genetically related. That means that they came from a common mother language. And many of the words in all three languages are the same. So that's how I first became interested in ancient civilizations, was doing my linguistic research. I used to love to do linguistics. Many of my early articles published back in the day were on linguistics, comparative linguistics. And that was a hard subject to do, comparative linguistics, because they don't have a good class in any university that I know of. And as a result, since they don't have a class in any university I know of, you had to kind of learn that on your own. So, but I'd already got a minor in for my master's degree. I had a minor in linguistics, so I was able to come about in that. So, in terms of the Tower of Babel, I don't know. Some people say it may have existed, but I don't know. When Narma was bashing with the mace, he was bashing the heads of those Anu, the pygmy people, because they were the rulers of the world. That's why they have Anu in Mesopotamia. They also have Anu in Egypt. And they were the rulers, and he was taking over, And, the Anu, after the flood, they became weak. See, we, the taller black people, we lived in the mountains. And after we came down from the mountains, we started, the Anu people were weakened, and we began, in a sense, to reoccupy their lands. Many of the trade centers in Mesopotamia had been destroyed because of the Great Flood. So we went there to reestablish some of those floods over there. FBA being the foundational human, I don't know about that. Those people, those people, the foundational humans, the majority of them have went through various processes. As I said, is that Black people are not a monolithic. We're not a monolithic people. What you do is when you study archaeology, you find, in a sense, that that different black people existed at different times. As I said before, the original black people were what we call the Australians. Then after the Australians, they were about 100 some thousand years ago. Oh, before the Australians were the Neanderthals. Yes, the Neanderthals. They always teach you that the Neanderthals were primitive. The reason that they said the Neanderthals were primitive is because if you notice they had the old Neanderthals with big lips, big noses. That's because of the fact that they found out they were black. And because of the fact that they were black, they called them primitive. And so that's why they made up the myth. See, the whole thing about the Neanderthals being wild people and the people, okay, that's all bullshit. It's all a lie. The Neanderthal people were black people, just like you and I. They just were, a little shorter. So we had the Neanderthals. Then we see how the Neanderthals came the Australians. Then after the Australians, the Khoisan, they ruled the world for a while. They did the Solutrean culture, and they also did the Arignacian culture. They migrated from South Africa all the way into Europe, and they replaced the Neanderthals. They didn't really replace them; they just intermarried. Then after their civilization declined, then there was the Anu, what we call the Twa, or the Pygmy people. They ruled the world for a lot of years. And then around 4,000 BC, that's when the taller black people, the Proto-Saharans, like Narmer and the rest of them, Nimrod, that's when they began to expand out of Africa. So that's one of the reasons why, in a sense, this whole thing about Shem, Abraham, Ham, all of them, no, they all were black, they all were niggas, what the hell? So then, but people want to have an identity to themselves. Doc has said that Adam's calendar is 230,000 BC. No, Adam only goes back to 6,000 BC. Adamu, he only goes back to 6,000 BC. Okay, the reason that you can't find any information on the Blackfeet of North Carolina is that, remember, in a sense, is that most of the Blackfeet of North Carolina were labeled called colored. So then, therefore, your grandma, they wouldn't have never recognized there was a Blackfoot. What the white man did is that he moved some people out into the Midwest, some Mongoloid people, and he said, y'all are Blackfeet. That's why you can't find too much information. But if you notice, the early Blackfeet, they was mainly on the East Coast, Georgia, North Carolina, places like that. But that's just all bullshit. The white man, he gave the Mongoloid our names. And then when he gave the Mongoloid our names, that was that. I don't know too much about Inzalo Yalinga in South Africa. I don't know too much about that. I don't know about Taseti. Taseti, I don't think it was that old. Taseti only goes back to what, about 3,000 BC or something like that. Because remember, in a sense, that was the first nome of Egypt, but they wanted to stop being Cushites, so the people in Taseti called themselves Comedians. And the reason they called themselves Comedian is because of the fact, in a sense, is they wanted to be more related to God. Because Kemet means black. All the gods were black, so they were saying that they were a godly people, And they didn't want to be associated with the Cushites. But every time they needed some help, they went to get the Cushites. Let me see. Is it possible for those people that accompany Mansa Bukhari? Some of them were FBA, because I've been finding it was a whole lot of tribes, Joan. There was a whole lot of tribes that were called Mandi. I just found out about a new tribe that was called Mandi that lived on the East Coast. Then you had the Mandi in the Anasazi, and then you had the Nanakoke. They spoke a Mandi language. So yeah. Some of the mounds, especially the late mounds, the Adena mounds, the mounds dating back to about 1300 AD. Many of them were built by some of the people who came here with Musa Abubakari, because see, Abubakari, he came over here with a couple of thousand ships, canoes, and the average canoe could carry, I repeat, 180 to 100 people. So if you multiply all of those people, when When Abu Bakari came here, it was about maybe 20,000 people that came with him. They left a lot of inscriptions all over the place. I wrote about them back in the 1970s, some of the inscriptions that they left. Khoisan was still active in history even after the Grecian Empire. No. Khoisan, they know. Nah. I mean, they were small. I mean, damn, we shit. I mean, come on now. We like pretty little short women, and you know how it is. How brothers are when they come to a short woman, they think they're cute. So we used to take a lot of their women. So no, Khoisan, they were short. The 12 was short, so we would take their women. We were mean. We were mean. We shouldn't have been taking their women like that. But hey, that's that. I don't know about the Hunas being Khoisan people. Yeah, that's right. Purple Cloud. Yeah, your brother's probably a Blackfoot, but like I said, is that they say the Blackfoots live in the Midwest now. So you got to remember, in a sense, that that's one of the reasons. I know you know about administrative uh, when they stole our identity, beginning in Virginia, and they started, in a sense, labeling all the anybody who was a Black Indian. They just called them colored. Because the fact in the census that. So you got to remember, man, they took so much from the Blackfoot, Choctaw, Cree. So you got all these Black people going around saying they Choctaw, they Chata or Choctaw. They are Creek, Blackfoot. I mean, they owe you money, so they don't want you to get any money. So they say you came from Africa. But see, they say you came from Africa so that you'll be focusing on Africa instead of recognizing that your aunties, your great grandmama, and all them, they were African people. Like my wife's, my wife's my wife's grandmother. My wife's grandmother was Blackfeet. you know. So, but again, like I said, they say now the Blackfeet are Mongoloid people in the Midwest. And then people say, how did they get out there? White men put them out there and say, you Blackfoot. You this, you that. And Mongoloids wasn't out there, man. Mongoloids came here, and then we gave them a little hand, and then the white man used them as tethers, put them in between us. Okay, one of Alexander's generals named Cornus, aka nope, I don't think so. Khoisan, they got isolated, Once you lose, man, that's it. Khoisan built the Cypriot and Nuragic civilization. Maybe. It was maybe a few up there before the Anu, took over. Could the Isles of Sahara possibly be Atlantis? That's what some people say. But that would be Neo-Atlantis. That was the new Atlantis. Because you got to remember that even around Lake Tritonis in Libya was a part of Atlantis too. But I believe that the real Atlantis, I think it was an island out in the Atlantic Ocean. But I think that if you remember, when you read the story, they say they did have colonies in Africa. So it could be one. Could the Isles of Sahara possibly Atlantis? Was it during the Aqualithic area? Nah, Aqualithic area. The Aqualithic area was an area in which people mainly survived off eating aquatic animals like fish and other things like that. So the Aqualithic area, nah. I don't think the Isles of Sahara would go back that. I don't think it would go back that late because you got to remember that the Atlanteans were much more. They had a much more superior civilization. See, civilizations rise, civilizations fall. Did the Black Plague affect the Moors in Europe? No. The Black Plague it didn't affect the Moors in Europe because, see, remember, the Moors were Muslims. Muslims prayed 5 times a day, so they were always washing their feet, their hands, their face. Europeans caught those diseases because they didn't keep themselves clean. They weren't hygienic. That's one of the reasons why I think when the Moors came, I think they brought alcohol and other things there, but they brought up cleanliness. They even introduced the toothbrush. If you go and look at my my video I made with Reverend Matthews, you can see where I talk about that. Some of the contributions of the Moors to Europe. Alexander the Great. I haven't thought too much about Alexander the Great. You know, a friend of mine, um, he says that Alexander the Great's father was Macedonian, and that the Macedonians were black. I haven't done research. So I couldn't deny, I couldn't argue for or against. You know that. Is there any relation between Paleo Hebrews and Egyptians? Of course. Of course, there's a relationship between Paleo Hebrews and Egyptians. Remember, remember what was the original name of Abraham? His original name was Abram. Remember Abram. Then after he moved into Egypt and started dealing with the Egyptians, he became Abraham. And see, so you got to remember that the vast majority, Joan, of Paleo Hebrews would have been Egyptians. You know, because see, many of the Egyptians adopted Hebrewism. You know, they just joined the tribe. It was nothing but a religion. See, we keep talking, you know, a lot of people over here, because the fact is that they don't really study history. They think everything had to be born blood. That's all bull. That's all bullshit. Everything is not blood. You see, because see, if everything was blood, how could Abram, who was supposed to have been a Semite, become Abraham? Abraham. See, that shows in the sense that he joined the Hamitic group of people, or the tribe of Ham, and that was the Egyptians. So many of the Egyptians who left out of Egypt would have been many of the Hebrews that left out of Egypt would have naturally been Egyptians. Let me see, Timbo Doc. So basically, on one of your posts, you said the Reverend Shark, the Hyksos, and Egyptians had a civil war like Africans against Africans. Yeah, they did have a civil war, but you got to remember in a sense that the Hyksos, if you remember when I talked about Nimrod, or in a sense Narmer, remember in a sense that Narmer called himself a Hyksos. That's what that, you know, they didn't call what we call Cush today. They call Hyksos, Hyksos, and so they were in a sense, because of the fact that they were Hyksos. What they did is that they rebelled. They rebelled and they decided that they wanted to go back being Cushites as opposed to being Comedians. And so then that's why you find that the Hyksos and the Cushites in Nubia, that's why they were fighting together. See, the first in a sense Cushite dynasty of Egypt was really the Hyksos, not the 25th dynasty. You see, and so then, but then then you know the southern Egyptians, they wanted to go back because see, you got to remember it's always been that dichotomy between the Comedians and the Cushites. And remember, the first nome, or the first city of ancient Egypt, was Taseti, and Taseti was originally called a Cushite nation. So it's all bull. You know, it's just like the Cushites. The Cushites, they wore beards, and the Egyptians like to clean face like me. You know, so you know. You're right. That's good. Do you think people migrated from the south of Africa to South America 12 to 20,000 years ago when the ocean levels were forming? I don't know. They probably remember they had they had a giant lake. They had a giant lake in the middle of Africa that was what, uh, you know, maybe over 100,000 miles or something. So they was really used to crossing the ocean. So they came. They didn't come from South Africa. They mainly came from Morocco, West Africa, over to Brazil and Mexico, and then from there they moved up into the moved up and settled in different parts of the world. That's why if you notice in a sense, you know, white people, they always try to lie. They always try to see, they can't tell you your history, because if you know your history, then you see that it was more to it than that. See, the ocean only rose after the what is it, the Younger Dryas, and the Younger Dryas is when the oceans rose, and that was about, it was about 400 to 600 feet lower, but that was when the Younger Dryas. And see, during the Younger Dryas, you could walk all the way from East Africa to what the Dravidians call Kumari Nado. You could walk all the way from East Africa into Australia and South India because the water was much lower. No, I haven't visited the Alhambra in Granada, Spain. No, I haven't been there. The thing is, this is that yeah, they try to they try to say in a sense that the Moors were Arabs, but everybody knows that the Moors were mainly in a sense from West Africa and mainly Senegal, and then the Arabs were called Saracens. Saracens. The Saracens were the people from the Arabic speakers, or the main Arabs. They all spoke Arabic. Of course, yeah, Nimrod was before the Bible. Remember the Bible? The Bible was only written what? See, people get the Bible all mixed up. The Bible includes different books. See, the Bible, what is it? The Bible is it 66 books or something like that. Or some, it's a lot of books. But see, the Bible is not one book. It's a lot of different books. Like the first two parts of the Bible, that's history. Then the other parts of the Bible is talking about the lives of the various prophets, Matthew, John, and all that. And then you got the Revelation, which is the prophecies of future times. But the Bible is not just one source. The Bible, in a sense, and it came later. The Bible was written after the Hebrews had left Egypt, and they went to various parts of Israel. So that's one of the reasons why today we know, in a sense, that many FBA people here are descendants of the Hebrews, if you want to say it. We're God's people because we're first frequency. So we're all God's people. But see, God loves the believer. If you believe in Him, He loves you. There's no one group better than another group. God loves everybody that believes in Him. And see, that's the whole point. That's one of the reasons why it's very important to understand that certain things were done for basic. Like most Jews, they don't believe in hell. That's why they do the evil things they do, because they know hell doesn't exist. And because they know hell doesn't exist, they do the evil things they do. But there is a judgment, but you have to judge yourself. See, and that's worse. That's the worst judge. I'd rather God judge me because He forgive you. You might not forgive yourself. We're hard on each other, very hard on each other. What do I think about mixed race dating? I don't know. I don't know about that, because see, I believe that I've had many incarnations. I believe that's why I know so much about ancient history, is that I was maybe living in China, maybe living in ancient America. I definitely know I was an Olmec for a while, and my last incarnation, I think I was in France, and that I just had this dream a lot, and I would go up the steps with a carbine, and I wouldn't come back down. So I feel one of my last incarnations, I was in France during World War II. I don't care. I mean, I just want to believe in God and go and be in the Crystal City one day. See, my goal is to be in the Crystal City. That's what we call paradise or heaven. I would just want to be with God, and I thank God that I can believe in Him. I thank God that God allowed me to read the Bible, the Quran, and other books, and know that there is a God, to know that this is not my home. And because I know this is not my home, I just play my role. Today I'm Clyde. What do Clyde mean? I used to be Clyde Ahmed Winters. Clyde, that means cold. That means, no, Clyde means he was heard from afar. Ahmed means the praised one. And then winter, in a sense, winters mean cold. So I'm the praised one who's heard from afar. That's why a lot of things I might say today, you may not understand them today, but tomorrow you say, oh, that's what Dr. Winters meant. Because see, a lot of times what I say today, you might have to think about it, then you may have a greater understanding. So the Bible is a compilation of books, yes. Yeah, they left out certain books. That was, remember, they had the Council of Nice and Nice, and at the Council of Nice, they decided what books would go into the Bible. I know probably many of you are advanced, so a lot of you probably read the Apocrypha. And the Apocrypha are like the Book of Enoch. I really love the Book of Enoch. Yeah, I do want to go back to the Crystal City. My wife, I miss her a great deal. But my wife, she back in the '70s, she had a revelation and she talked about the Crystal City, and she talked. God showed her a lot of good stuff. You know. So, but she talked about the Crystal City. That's one of the reasons we used to like to go to Montreal because in Montreal it was a place where there was water under this glass, and at this place, and she's always loved to go there because whenever she walked there, it reminded her of when God showed her the Crystal City. But I think if you want to, okay, what is that? Shukin Pierce. If you want to really, if you really want to find, you might want to get the Kushites, then get the book, The Ma Civilization, and the Egyptian language, and you definitely want to get "We Are Not Just Africans," because "We Are Not Just Africans" is one of the most important books for FBA, because we are not just Africans. It tells you our Black Native American heritage. It's kind of expensive, but that's because it's got a lot of colored pictures in there. You know. Do I recommend any good movies around ancient history? I can't think of any right now. Yeah, Anu were a high tech civilization. You know, many of them, according to Bator, I told you about who worked on Tamani. Many of them moved into the center of the earth, and if you know, the center of the earth is where the so-called grays come. They're not really gray. Those are their spaces. They're really some little brown niggas. But again, the grays are kind of cowardly. But the thing is that's where the main Anu live today that have a high civilization. They live in the center of the earth. That's what I heard from Bator and some of the other people. Just like the leprechauns, when they talked about you get some gold when you catch a leprechaun. That was if you caught one of the Anu, they would give you gold. Was the distinction between Negro land and Hamites? Nothing. That's just white man made up Hamites so that they could say that they were white instead of black. Hamites, it doesn't matter. No, yeah, you're right, TW. You shouldn't fear death. But the point is this is that we have to fear death. We had to fear death because we didn't fear death, we would commit suicide. So, everybody fears death because we believe we know where we're going, but we don't really know it. So God put in us this instinct to live. And so then that's why, in a sense, you shouldn't fear death because death is eventual. Everybody's going to die that I know of. Maybe somebody hasn't died, but everybody's going to die that I know of. Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. They wanted him to play a Sumerian warrior. I used to like his thing when he played those stories. But remember, Arnold, what's his name? Schwarzenegger. What does Schwartz mean? Black. What does Niger mean? Nigger. Oh, Arnold the black nigger. Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's in German Schwartz. Black nigger, the black nigger. I don't believe it. I know, Timbo, I don't believe Atlantis was a myth. A lot of things they say there that is myth because most of the Greeks said that the Ethiopians, the black people, were the wisest, most intelligent people on the planet. I don't know what they call the American continent. Because see, nobody, people didn't really think about a continent. When I was talking in my class earlier, Dad, I told people nobody really thought about a continent. They only talked about their land. I know some people say that ancient America was called Turtle Island. That's all bull. But and that's a lot of bull. There's no evidence because nobody ever thought about and the entire continent. They only taught about their little place where they lived at. Judea is the same as Judea. No, Judea that's different. Judea was a king in Samaria. Judea was a country in old Israel. You know Israel, then Judea. You know. No, the Sumerians don't lie to you. The Europeans, they just try to make you think the Sumerians were white by showing you Gudians. I love Conan. Oh yes, Serious B. Conan was going on, baby. When me and my wife went to go see it, I said, "You could be my sidekick. Help me kick some ass." I love Conan movies. Now I will admit, somebody asked me. Now that was one of the best movies, and it shows how Central Asia was. They used to call that part of Central Asia Kushana. They called it Kushana, and in a way, it did show it was a place where it was just a whole lot of people, just black, white, Asian. It was just it was going on. I liked it. I liked it. The underworld, America, the underworld. I don't know about that. What do you want to talk about ancestry? I don't get that question. No, no ancient, no such thing as ancient aliens. The the ruler, the people who founded Mesopotamian and Egyptians were the Anu. There's no such thing as Anunnaki. You will not find Anunnaki mentioned in any Sumerian text. Billy Carson, I love him. He's a good hustler, and I mean he said what the white people like. I ain't mad at him, but it wasn't any aliens. The aliens, they no, they may have been in contact some alien groups, but they didn't build ancient Egypt. The Greeks called America Atlantis. No, they called the island in the ocean. The Greeks didn't call America Atlantis. The second frequency showed them on the scene after the the earthquake, the Sarantini earthquake. That's when the caves opened up and they came out the caves. Look at my video on the Neanderthals, and it'll explain to you where white people came from. Billy Carson. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, he's got a fine. He wrote a nice book, and he has a lot of followers. I mean, but no, it wasn't aliens. King Udir was a short pygmy, so wouldn't he have been black? King Udir, he may have been Anu, but the thing is, this is that they were all black. The Sumerians were black. The people that they show you in the books, those are Gudians, and they were Gudians. That's why they had the big eyes and all that, and grass for gowns and all that stuff. The Sumerians look like Gudea, the real Gudea, but they try to the French. They try to make Gudea look real feminine. So they try to change him around. No, most of the time they purple clouds. They put Atlantis, around North America, not near Europe. FBA ancestry is as I began. I talked earlier. FBA ancestry is the result of the Aboriginals or the Black Indians that lived here. They were the first slaves. Then the second slaves that come here were the Black Irish, the Doob, and they came. They were Irish and Scotsmen. I think they came over here as early as 1626, maybe. But then they definitely began to be shipped over here after 1649. Then after 1649, Anthony, he was able, in a sense, to get black people changed from sub-Saharan Africans, changed from indentured servants to chattel slaves. So the Africans, the people of Africa, they became slaves after the Aboriginals, the Black Indians, and the Black Irish and Scots. I don't know. Maybe they did live 1,000 years. I don't. They man would have had to live that long to make those babies. Remember they had to repopulate the earth. Anunnaki, I never heard of Anunnaki. King Oz. No, Gudea was not a Gudian. That's not true. Nobody says that Gudea was a Gudean. You got to check out. I got several videos right here on my site. You got to come and visit my website. You're here now. Check out my videos on Sumerians. The Sumerians were not Gudeans. The Gudeans and Sumerians were two different groups. The Gudeans were called the wild people. You see, Atlas' daughters were in the Hesperides, which is west. No. Atlas' daughters. I think Atlas was supposed to be in North Africa, so I would believe his daughters were in Africa, not in Spain. But it could have been. I don't know. The Black European influence on modern day Europe. That's kind of it's hard to say because it was the black people in Europe that developed architecture, art, all that stuff was done by Black Europeans. Remember, it was Thomas Cromwell. Thomas Cromwell destroyed 97% of the royals, of the architecture of the royals and all that, because he wanted, in a sense, to repaint everything. And so he destroyed the pictures of the black people and a lot of their texts. He went into the churches. He went everywhere, the castles. He just was taking any portraits of black people and burning them up, and then they repainted them as white. Do I believe in aliens? Yeah, I believe in aliens. No, you're not Dorville. You're not gonna find any books where they say the Gudeans were black. No. You got to look at my videos, and my videos. I show you the sources where they say the Gudeans were white. No. Nobody can say the Gudeans were black. No. Is there a map showing where the different Africans settled in the Americas? No. You got to understand that in the Americas, when the Africans came, what Africans are you talking about? Africans have been coming over to America for 100,000 years. Are you talking about doing the slave trade? You're talking about doing the Atlantic slave trade. They usually try not to put members of the same African tribe on the same plantation because they felt they might communicate. And because they felt they might communicate, they wanted to put them on separate plantations so they could keep them from maybe starting any trouble. So no, we don't have any. We don't know where the different Africans settled. Since 5000 BCE, let me see, 5000 BCE. What about 5000 BCE? P. Whitting 501. What about that? Light-skinned blacks were described as white also. Well, some people call light-skinned black people today white. I remember in my family, my father was light-skinned, my mother was dark-skinned, so we'd have some fight. Black! But I felt the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. What can I say? Don't you can always create as many myths as you want. The recording with Tariq, I don't know. We talked about an hour or two because I had to fly. It was during the COVID. So then I flew into Los Angeles. We talked about 2 hours, but I had to catch the plane and fly back out because you couldn't stay in any of the hotels in Los Angeles back when we talked unless you had the venom. I never took the venom, so I couldn't stay in the hotel. So we talked for 2 hours and I got back on the plane and came back to Chicago. So we had I'll see how much is put in the film though, It's supposed to come out the end of February after the 25th, I believe. I met his wife. He has a very nice wife, She's nice, she's fun. But I mean, hey, they're both pretty. They're both pretty cool. He's just like he is on TV, Yeah, I've seen Karimio. Karimio, I'm glad he doesn't take my class because he know how to really write his stuff. Some of his stuff is real good. He did. Remember, it was Karimio who did a lot of good research on the Black Irish and the Black Scots. So he did some good research. But that whole thing about the old world and the Mississippi being the Nile. No. We know what the Nile was, and so that's a little bit far out. But I think Karimio he has some good stuff. He just don't know how to write it. He don't know how to interpret it and put it together. So, but he has some good stuff. I really love the stuff that he did on the Black Irish. I love the stuff on the Scots. So a lot of his stuff is real good. His stuff on the Olmecs and some of that, nah. Yeah, I'm glad to be talking to you, Chio Will, to 2050. Okay, there's no such people as Anunnaki. That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. You will not find Anunnaki in any Sumerian text. It was the Anu, and I haven't seen anything about the Nagi, the Naga. The Naga is about the people who lived in Ethiopia. The Naga were Abyssinians. It came from the Nagus. The Naga, they were the serpent worshippers, and they ruled India. And they ruled Southeast Asia. They built Angkor Wat and all that. They were the Nagas. Most of the time, you find them in a sense with always with serpents behind them, serpent over their head. And the reason they put the serpent over the head is that the serpent, that was considered to be, as you know, one of the earliest examples of God. They call that serpent Naga. I don't deal with Naga. I don't deal with Naga. I want Amma. Amma, my mama. Naga, no. Naga, no. But some people like Naga. Some people worship him. But that's their thing. But I don't deal with Naga. Let Naga, friend of mine, he was a Hebrew Israelite, and back in 1980, what was it, back in 1980, 86. He called me, he said, yeah, Clyde. He said, Naga told me how to make a computer that could talk. And this was in 1986. I said, well, what are you telling me for? He said, what do you mean? I said, if Naga told you something, you're not supposed to tell everybody. So why are you telling me? So, and then after a while, Naga made him forget how to make the computer. See, he didn't know he was being tested. See, I don't work with Naga. Forget Naga. You can go in a dark room and call on any demon you want, and they'll come and be with you. But I don't deal with that stuff. Yeah, the Mississippian culture. Yeah, in Illinois and all that, the Mississippian culture was basically Malian. Of course, I know about the real history research. The main author on the real history research, we used to all be together on Egypt Search. Back in the day, Egypt Search was going on. Egypt Search was the real history place. We did all that research. We did the research. A lot of books coming about blacks all over the world, they heard it first at Egypt Search. And the brother who runs that site, he was the main person. On Egypt Search now, they ran him off, Well, Karimio, he doesn't know about the Younger Dryas. So but he does some good stuff. You can't always knock him out. Have you ever worked with late? Yeah, I worked with Ivan Van Sertima. If you go back and you see the original series of African Civilization, I was one of the co-editors. In fact, I'm the one who thought of the name of it. But me and Ivan, we stopped working together because of the fact that it's a guy called Barry Fell, and Barry Fell, he called himself deciphering some of the ancient writing systems. But a lot of those writing systems, I'd already deciphered them in 1979. And he coming out in 1980, 84, what was it, 81, 82, 80, somewhere in the 80s. And so he told Ivan Van Sertima that you can't be my friend if you're class friend. So since Barry Feld was at Harvard University, he said, "Fuck you, Clyde. I'm going with Barry Feld." So that's when we stopped working with each other. I don't know about the Hebrews. All I know is this: is that most of the like Nat Turner and the rest of them, they didn't worship Jesus Christ. They worship Yahweh. Yeah, Purple Cloud. Yeah, Crimeo. He's got some good stuff. As long as you don't believe that stuff about America being the old world, you're okay. How can the Mississippi be the Nile? We know where Egypt is. We know pyramid. And then that thing about the oldest pyramid is in Peru. No, that's not the oldest pyramid. The oldest pyramids were all in Africa. You know. Yeah, Romeo, he got some good stuff. Some of his stuff is a little far out. And as long as he's not going around trying to talk to the experts, he's okay. But he's what you call a bibliophile. And a bibliophile is a person who knows books. He's done a lot of good research. And his son is a great artist. I love some of the artwork that they have. Today I'm feeling pretty good. Chill Will 2050. That's why I decided to have a little chat with my Patreon, because you guys, a lot of my research comes from you guys because you guys are supporting me. I don't know about Carimio's religion. You have to hand it to him. He's got over what 100,000 subscribers to his site, so that's cool. That's cool. You know. The weather in Chicago, cold below. It's the wind chill is below zero. But it's still I like it like this because in the wintertime it's supposed to be cold. I don't like it. I don't like it when it's not the regular thing. Then I have to start thinking about things I don't need to think about. Then you have to start thinking about a lot of stuff that I've read, and so I don't. So I like it just like this. This is normal. How you doing, Paquette? Okay, we can talk about another 10 minutes, probably about 8:30. We can stop it. If there's any more questions, anybody got any more questions? Where do I think man is heading, James? I think man is heading to the. I think it's about to be a new rise of a new civilization. No white civilization lasts as longer than 200 years, and so we'll see who rules next. I don't know if I can save it, but we'll see. If I do save it, I'll put it in. It'll be on this website, the my YouTube channel. But I'll try to send the information to the Patreon. Uh, well, right now Atlantis island born original Atlantis is under the water now. The Ethiopian presence, the Ethiopian civilization was mainly down in South America. The Moshikas. The Moshikas, they were Ethiopians, or from Ethiopia. Their gods, they had the same gods, they had the same names for their gods. They all worked with the club. Yeah, get my book, Ancient Empires, in my book, Ancient Empires in Ancient America. I have a video. I have a video here, and I talked to Reverend Matthews about the Exumites or the in South America. So you can look at those videos and find out more about the Ethiopian presence in the Americas. What I think about secret society like the Masons, they cool. I don't belong to any because if I learn something that's secret, I can't tell anybody. I like to tell what I know. But there's things I know that I'll never tell, but that's just life. Some things I stay in my place. What is your new movie, Chill Will 2050? I don't know what your new movie is. Exhumian? Yeah. Tania, Exhumian? Yeah, that was they were Exhumites. The Moshikas were basically Exhumites. Check out my videos and you'll see. What role will artificial intelligence play in the future of the black diaspora? I don't think it's going to play a role at all because that's the white man needs artificial intelligence because he can't think on his own. Remember, his whole civilization is based on the book. Your civilization is based on the Akashic records, but see, they need a book, and that's what artificial intelligence is. It's just a replay of the book. But see, if there's a magnetic pulse reversal, they lose everything because a magnetic pulse reversal that's going to knock all the information out. But see, when you're able, in a sense, to get information from the Akashic records, then that information is always there. It's not too P winning 501 is not too challenging. What you do is you think of a subject that relates to ancient history or whatever you want to write about, and then just write it in the language that a child can understand. Remember, most books are written at a fifth grade level. Even the textbooks in high school, they're all written at a fifth grade level. Uh, like I said, is that you can read any historical thing, and what you have to do, P. Whitting, is what you have to do is you have to write it in a limited fashion, and then get somebody to draw some pictures, and then you can write books that the kids can understand that a little. But you just have to keep it in a language that they can understand, and make your topic very short. Make your topic short and to the point, and then that way, in a sense, you'll be able to do this. I can't recommend any books. The books that I would recommend would be my books because my books give a lot of good Black history, or you can do some of Diop stuff. But write it in a fashion where little kids can understand it. Write it in a language that they can understand. What books are good on Nat Turner and his belief? You're not going to find any books that really deal with. You have to make inferences, and you make inferences by reading about Nat Turner. It's not going to come out right out and say that he believed in Yahweh. But when they talk about he heard from the Great Spirit that he was dealing with the God of Israel, he wasn't in a sense talking about Jesus Christ. That lets you know that he had to be dealing with the God of Israel. Any new movies you feel like talking about? Uh, I haven't seen anything. I liked Till a little bit. Uh, you know, I mainly look at a lot of anime, and I like anime. People used to get mad at me and my wife watching anime. Say, "Why your old ass watching anime?" I like anime. I like Japanese anime because it deals with heroes, and everybody wants to like heroes. Ethno ethno stern education. No ethno. I don't know what that is. Eval ethno stern. Oldest bones found. I meant oldest bones were found in South Africa. They date to about 325 BC. Now the white people, in a sense, they're trying to say that the oldest bones of a human were found in North Africa. That's a lie. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to push the origin of man further and further north till they can make up that man originated in Europe. Yeah, yeah, chill. I'm with you. I love anime. I look at it in Netflix, but then also my grandson. He's a great technologist. He can help me get them free movies. He know how to deal with that computer. So I get to see a lot of anime. I think I like a lot of good stuff. I like One Piece is real good. Any lectures on pre Roman history? Nah. I mean, I got them. They're in my movies. You can think of some questions. Maybe next time we can talk about that. Have I done any research on the Monacan? They're not. Their name is not Monacan. The name is not Monacan. The name is Manican. Mandican. They're Mandican. They're not Monacan. They just made that up. Those were Mandi speaking people. See, Manican. They say Monacan, but when you really do the research, it's Manican. Let's just hope for the best. Okay, vowel, intro, stem, etc. Run, English, African, fractals, one man punch. Okay. Have you seen Megalobox? Nah, I haven't seen that. I thought the Vineland saga. I thought that was good. Thought that was good, especially now that I know that the Vikings were black. All they had to do is just change the faces, you know, because the Vikings were. Now I know the Vikings and Danes were black. I mean, I can see things, and I can put my imagination can put different faces on the people. Do you think we're special? These that want to know, Pete family. I think the point is this: is that I don't know. I don't know you. Uh, to me, the only special people is people who can who are be one and love themselves and love other people. But you got to be one. See, because if you don't love yourself, then how can you love anybody else? That's one of the reasons why we have so many broken hearts. And you can't stop people getting their hearts broken, but we have so many broken hearts because we don't begin with loving ourselves, and then by trying to respect each other. So we break each other's hearts so much. Shield Hero, that's cool. Naruto. I don't look at him like I used to. I liked him back in the day. Goblin Slayer. Oh, Demon Slayer is going on. You got to look at the Mugen Train, and also you got to look at on Netflix. Not Netflix, but Hulu. Hulu has the Mugen Train, and Hulu has the Entertainment District in English, so you don't have to be reading the subtitles. So Purple Cloud, you got to go to Hulu to see the latest Demon Slayers. No, no, the social media proliferation, that's beautiful because see, it's social media that's allowing us now. Because it's social media that's allowing us now to be able to really express ourselves. I really think that we wouldn't be even having this program now with me talking to you guys uh, if it wasn't for social media. It was me going on Facebook and other places that allowed me to get exposed to people. I mean, I've been doing this research. Like if you notice, my some of my videos are over 10 years old. So I've been doing this for years, and the people who really follow me, they know I've been writing stuff for the past 40 years, especially on the internet. But people didn't know. But see, what happened is that one of the greatest advantages we have today is the social media, because the social media allows us, in a sense, to be able to communicate with each other. That's how we found out about Tyree and other things. A lot of good movements began not by looking at the news. A lot of good movements began, in a sense, for Black people in the past 5 years. That came through social media. So social media has been a godsend because sadly we have no black media. There's no Chicago Defender. There's no they bought the white people on Ebony. White people own all of black media. So the only way, and Grio, that's owned by kind of an Uncle Tom. And so then so it's only through social media that we're beginning, in a sense, to be able to see the world and beginning to communicate with each other. TW. Maybe they can say that we're the product Google is selling, but the point is this is that it's just like Hebrews the Negro. You see, Hebrews the Negro, those Jews did not want Hebrews the Negro to be sold on Amazon, but they saw they could make money off of it. And it also helped awaken us to our Hebrew heritage. Many enslaved people came from Black Hebrew nations in West Africa. So again, in a sense, is that God works in a strange way. God works in a way that's beyond us. You know, the fact in a sense that those people attack Kanye. Okay, good. Then they attack Ivory Irving, and then when they attacked Kyrie Irving, what happened in a sense is that he brought out to people about Hebrews and Negroes or something like that, and then people began in a sense to reflect on our heritage. So we have a very rich heritage. You know, we're from many people. You know, just like the dollar saved out of many people one. But the whole point is this: is that we don't know who we are. We don't know how to really express ourselves. So yes, social media, I love it. One day, white people are going to decide they got to stop that because that's how we're able to communicate. That's how we're able, in a sense, to spread things. And yes, I recognize, in a sense, that Europeans may not like what we're saying, but at the same time, they don't like what we're saying. They're watching it and they're knowing it. Has there ever been an ideology of black supremacy? Yes. That ideology of black supremacy was when the Egyptians called themselves Comedians, the blacks. When the Sumerians called themselves Sagagiga, the blacks. When the Olmecs called themselves She, yeah, of course. But when they had black supremacy, it was not to be supreme over any other people. It's just a whole idea that they recognized that being black was supreme. So you got to remember that black people only hated being called black after the crack epidemic. You know, it was a crack epidemic when a lot of people lost their identity. And so now we living in a dream state, you know. And you got to remember is that when you read the ancient Egyptian, when you read the ancient Greek, so-called Greek myths, all they talk about is the Ethiopians. Now the Ethiopians ruled the world, so I guess that would have been going on, you know. Because you remember, that's one of the reasons why they tell you that the books that the Greeks wrote is a myth, because the books that the myth wrote talk about the greatness of the Ethiopian, which would be the greatness of black people. They don't want you to know that, you know. Okay, one more minute. Any other questions before I'll let you guys know when we'll do this again. Maybe in a couple of weeks. I'll let you guys know, and then you guys, if you have any other questions, maybe we can talk some more then. I enjoyed talking to everybody tonight, and I'm glad you guys brought me some good questions. I hope that I answered many of them. I don't know everything, and what I don't know, we can keep looking at it. Greeks love, of course, they love Memnon. Memnon was a great hero, but remember he was an Ethiopian, and so when they talk about Greco-Roman myths, all they're doing is trying to tell you, don't, don't, don't look at that history because then you know that blacks were too great. Okay, thanks everybody for coming, and I'll let you guys know when we're going to do this again. I enjoyed answering questions, and again, love you. Bye.